What makes a music company dominate a global industry in less than 2 decades? Is it pure strategy or calculated risk pushed to the edge? HYBE Corporation didn't just ride the K-pop wave, it reshaped it. But at what cost? Number 7. From indie label to global player, Bang Si-hyuk. HYBE Corporation's origin story is one of the clearest examples of how timing, technology, and unconventional strategy can disrupt an industry long dominated by entrenched power structures. The company was founded in 2005 as Big Hit Entertainment by Bang Si-hyuk, a producer known in the South Korean music industry for his earlier work with JYP Entertainment, including collaborations with successful acts like G.O.D., yet unlike SM Entertainment, YG Entertainment, or JYP Entertainment, Big Hit entered the market without strong capital reserves or an established artist roster, which forced it to adopt a fundamentally different approach from the beginning. Rather than relying on traditional broadcast exposure through Korean television, music shows, Big Hit leaned heavily into digital platforms at a time when YouTube, Twitter, and global streaming were still emerging as serious distribution channels. This decision was not speculative, but grounded in observable global internet trends during the late 2000s, when broadband access and smartphone usage were rapidly expanding worldwide, creating new pathways for content consumption that were not limited by national broadcasting systems. The company's early artist roster, including groups like 2AM in partnership with JYP, did not immediately secure its position in the market, and Big Hit faced financial instability for several years, a fact documented in multiple interviews with Bang Si-hyuk where he described near-bankruptcy conditions prior to 2013. The turning point came with the debut of BTS in June 2013, a 7-member group whose development strategy diverged sharply from industry norms. Instead of presenting a polished, distant idol image, BTS was marketed with a narrative emphasizing authenticity, youth struggles, and social commentary themes reflected in their early albums such as Too Cool, For School, and Oh Rule 8-2, which addressed topics like academic pressure and identity. But the real strategic innovation was not just in the music, it was in the communication model. BTS maintained a continuous and direct line of interaction with fans through Twitter, where they posted regularly and personally, and through video content on YouTube and later VLive. This consistent engagement built a highly active global fan base known as ARMY. Long before the group achieved mainstream Western recognition, data from Twitter itself has shown BTS ranking among the most tweeted about artists globally for multiple consecutive years, illustrating the scale of this digital engagement. By prioritizing online platforms over traditional gatekeepers, Big Hit effectively removed geographic barriers, allowing BTS to build audiences in the United States, Latin America, Southeast Asia, and Europe simultaneously. This strategy aligned with the rise of global streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music, which further amplified accessibility. By the late 2010s, BTS had become a global phenomenon, achieving milestones such as topping the Billboard 200 chart multiple times, performing at major award shows like the Billboard Music Awards and the Grammy Awards, and delivering a speech at the United Nations General Assembly in 2018 as part of UNICEF's Love Myself campaign. These achievements were not isolated successes, but the result of a system built on consistent content output, narrative cohesion, and direct fan engagement. Financially, this translated into exponential growth for Big Hit, with revenue heavily driven by BTS through album sales, global tours, merchandise, and licensing. According to HYBE's financial disclosures, a significant percentage of the company's revenue prior to 2021 was tied directly to BTS-related activities, highlighting both the effectiveness and the risk of this concentration. Recognizing the need to evolve beyond a single artist dependency, Big Hit initiated a structural transformation. In March 2021, the company officially rebranded as HYBE Corporation, a move that reflected its ambition to become a platform-based entertainment company rather than a traditional label. This shift was not purely cosmetic. It was accompanied by a reorganization into multiple business divisions, including HYBE Labels, HYBE Solutions, and HYBE Platforms. One of the most critical components of this strategy was the development of Weverse, a proprietary fan community platform launched in 2019, which allows artists to communicate directly with fans, distribute exclusive content, and sell merchandise. By integrating e-commerce, content distribution, and social networking into a single ecosystem, HYBE effectively created a closed-loop platform that reduces reliance on third-party services while capturing more value per user interaction. Weverse has since expanded to host not only HYBE artists, but also external acts, further positioning it as a scalable platform business. Alongside organic growth, HYBE pursued aggressive acquisitions to accelerate its global expansion. In 2019, It acquired Source Music, followed by Pledis Entertainment in 2020, bringing established groups like 17 and NewEst under its umbrella. But the most significant move came in April 2021, when HYBE acquired Ithaca Holdings for approximately $1.05 billion USD. This deal included management of globally recognized artists such as Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande, marking HYBE's most direct entry into the Western music industry. The acquisition was structured as a stock deal, with Ithaca's founder Scooter Braun joining HYBE's board, illustrating a strategic partnership rather than a simple takeover. This expansion diversified HYBE's revenue streams and reduced its dependence on BTS, while also giving it access to established networks in the United States market. The company's financial trajectory reflects these strategic decisions. In October 2020, Big Hit Entertainment went public on the Korea Exchange, raising around 962.6 billion KRW in one of South Korea's largest IPOs that year. The listing significantly increased the company's capital and visibility, with its market capitalization surging in the early days of trading. By 2021 and 2022, HYBE continued to report strong revenues exceeding 1 trillion KRW annually, driven by a combination of music sales, concerts, digital content, and platform services. However, this rapid growth also introduced new challenges, including increased scrutiny from investors, the pressure to continuously deliver high-performing content, and the need to manage multiple labels and global operations simultaneously. The issue of artist dependency remained relevant, particularly as BTS members began mandatory military service in South Korea starting in 2022, prompting HYBE to emphasize its multi-label strategy and new group debuts such as TXT, NHYPEN, and NewJeans, all of which achieved measurable commercial success, demonstrating that HYBE's system could produce results beyond its flagship act. Yet analysts have continued to debate whether the company's expansion pace is sustainable in the long term, especially given the competitive nature of the global music industry and the volatility of consumer trends. What is undeniable is that HYBE's rise from a small, financially constrained agency to a multinational entertainment corporation was not accidental. It was built on early recognition of digital transformation, a willingness to bypass traditional industry structures, and a deliberate move toward vertical integration across content, technology, and commerce. This strategy fundamentally altered how K-pop and increasingly global pop can be produced, distributed, and monetized. But it also set a precedent that others are now racing to follow. The question is no longer whether HYBE changed the game, it's whether anyone else can keep up with the rules it wrote, and whether even HYBE itself can sustain the momentum it created. Number 6. Platform Power Play, Weverse Strategy. HYBE Corporation's push into platform ownership through Weverse represents one of its most deliberate and structurally significant marketing strategies. Launched in June 2019 through its subsidiary BENX, later renamed Weverse Company, the platform was designed to consolidate fan engagement, content distribution, and commerce into a single ecosystem, reducing reliance on external platforms like Twitter, YouTube, and VLive, which had previously been essential to BTS's global growth. The timing of Weverse's launch aligned with a broader industry shift toward platformization, where companies seek to control not just content, but also the channels through which audiences access and interact with that content. Weverse functions as a hybrid service combining elements of social media, fan cafe, streaming hub, and e-commerce store. Users can access exclusive posts from artists, behind-the-scenes videos, live broadcasts, subtitles in multiple languages, and official merchandise through integrated Weverse shop. This level of integration is not incidental. It allows HYBE to capture detailed user data, including engagement patterns, purchasing behavior, and geographic distribution, which can then be used to refine marketing strategies, tour planning, and product development. According to HYBE's own disclosures and investor presentations, Weverse surpassed tens of millions of global users within a few years of launch, with fans from over 200 countries and regions, demonstrating its reach beyond the traditional K-pop market. One of the platform's key strategic moves came in January 2021, when HYBE announced a partnership with Naver to integrate VLive into Weverse, effectively consolidating two of the most widely used fan communication platforms in the K-pop industry. Naver invested approximately 411.8 billion KRW into Weverse Company in exchange for a stake, while transferring its VLive business. This deal significantly reduced fragmentation in the fan platform space and positioned Weverse as a dominant player, not only for HYBE artists, but also for other agencies seeking a unified global platform. Following this integration, artists from outside HYBE, including acts from YG Entertainment and other labels, began joining Weverse. signaling its transition from a proprietary tool into a broader industry platform. From a marketing perspective, Weverse enables a direct-to-consumer model that minimizes intermediaries. Traditionally, fan engagement and merchandise sales often relied on third-party retailers, ticketing agencies, and social media platforms that take a percentage of revenue or control algorithmic visibility. By centralizing these functions, HYBE retains greater control over pricing, distribution, and user experience, while also increasing its margins on merchandise and digital content. This is particularly significant in the context of K-pop, where physical album sales and official merchandise are major revenue drivers. Weverse Shop integrates seamlessly with artist content, allowing fans to purchase items immediately after exposure to promotional material, effectively shortening the conversion funnel from interest to transaction. This approach mirrors strategies used by major tech companies, where ecosystem lock-in increases user retention and lifetime value. However, HYBE's execution is tailored to the fandom-driven nature of the music industry, where emotional connection and exclusivity play a critical role in consumer behavior. The platform also supports multilingual communication, with real-time translation features that allow artists to post in Korean, while fans receive translations in their native languages. This reduces language barriers and enhances global accessibility, a key factor in HYBE's international expansion. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Weverse became even more central to HYBE's operations. As physical concerts were canceled and digital engagement surged, the company leveraged the platform to host online concerts and fan meetings, including BTS's Bang Bang Con The Live in June 2020, which reportedly attracted over 750,000 paid viewers from more than 100 countries, setting a Guinness World Record for the largest paid virtual concert audience at the time. These events were integrated with Weverse's commerce and community features, allowing fans to interact, purchase merchandise, and access exclusive content within a single environment, reinforcing the platform's role as a comprehensive digital venue. Financially, HYBE does not always break out Weverse revenue separately in public filings, but it categorizes platform-related income under its solutions segment, which has shown consistent growth year over year, indicating increasing monetization of digital services. Analysts have noted that platform businesses typically offer higher margins and scalability compared to traditional content production, making Weverse a critical component of HYBE's long-term strategy. Yet this approach also raises questions about centralization and control. By bringing fan interactions into a proprietary environment, HYBE gains significant influence over how content is distributed and consumed, which can be seen as both an efficiency advantage and a potential limitation for organic fan expression that previously thrived on open platforms. Additionally, reliance on a single platform introduces operational risks, including technical issues, data privacy concerns, and the challenge of maintaining user engagement across diverse global audiences. Competition is also intensifying, with other entertainment companies exploring similar direct-to-fan platforms or strengthening their presence on existing global services. Despite these challenges, Weverse has fundamentally altered the relationship between artist, company, and fan, transforming it from a fragmented network of third-party interactions into a centralized, data-driven ecosystem. This shift reflects a broader trend in the digital economy, where ownership of the platform equates to ownership of the customer relationship. For HYBE, Weverse is not just a tool for engagement. It is a strategic asset that underpins its entire marketing infrastructure, enabling continuous interaction, targeted monetization, and global scalability. The question is whether this level of integration represents a sustainable evolution of the industry or an increasingly controlled environment that could face resistance. As audiences and artists seek more open forms of connection, one thing is certain: by building its own digital universe, HYBE didn't just follow the platform era, it positioned itself to define it. And that changes the stakes for everyone involved. Number 5. Acquisition Blitz. Scooter Braun Deal. HYBE Corporation's acquisition strategy reached a defining moment in April 2021, when it purchased Ithaca Holdings for approximately $1.05 billion. A move that instantly expanded its influence beyond Asia and into the core of the Western music industry. Ithaca Holdings, founded by Scooter Braun, is not just a management company, but a network of businesses spanning artist management, record labels, and media ventures, most notably including SB Projects and Big Machine Label Group. Although Big Machine had previously been sold to Shamrock Holdings in 2020, the remaining Ithaca structure still managed globally recognized artists such as Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, Demi Lovato, and J Balvin at the time of acquisition. This deal was structured primarily as a stock transaction, meaning Scooter Braun and other Ithaca stakeholders received shares in HYBE, aligning their financial incentives with the company's long-term growth rather than a one-time payout. Braun himself joined HYBE's board of directors, signaling that this was not a passive acquisition, but an operational integration designed to merge networks, expertise, and market access. From a marketing perspective, this acquisition was highly strategic because it allowed HYBE to bridge two previously distinct ecosystems: K-pop's highly systematized, fandom-driven model and the Western music industry's more decentralized, artist-centric structure. By bringing these together, HYBE aimed to apply its strengths in fan engagement, merchandise integration, and digital content strategy to a roster of Western artists who traditionally relied more on streaming performance and touring revenue. At the same time, HYBE gained immediate access to established relationships with major US labels, radio networks, and distribution channels, which are critical for mainstream success in North America. This dual advantage reduced the barriers that non-Western companies often face when entering the US market, the world's largest music market by revenue, according to the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry. The timing of the acquisition is also important to understand. It came during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the live music industry was largely shut down and many entertainment companies were reassessing their business models. Valuations for certain assets were relatively lower compared to pre-pandemic peaks, and companies with strong cash positions or stock value, like HYBE following its 2020 IPO, were in a position to make large-scale investments. HYBE leveraged this moment to accelerate its global expansion rather than waiting for market stabilization, which reflects a calculated risk-taking approach rather than a purely defensive strategy. Operationally, Ithaca Holdings was integrated into HYBE America, a newly structured division intended to oversee the company's activities in the United States. This included not only artist management, but also future collaborations, joint ventures, and content production. One of the stated goals was to create opportunities for cross-market projects where K-pop production systems could be applied to Western artists, or where Western industry practices could inform HYBE's global operations. Although the extent of direct creative integration has varied, the structural framework allows for shared resources in areas such as marketing, analytics, touring logistics, and brand partnerships. Financially, the acquisition diversified HYBE's revenue streams, reducing its heavy reliance on BTS, which, according to previous financial reports, had accounted for a significant portion of the company's income. By adding multiple high-earning Western artists to its portfolio, HYBE spread its risk across different markets and genres. This diversification is particularly important in an industry where artist popularity can fluctuate rapidly due to changing consumer preferences, platform algorithms, and cultural trends. However, the acquisition also introduced new complexities. Managing artists across different cultural contexts, legal frameworks, and industry norms requires a high level of coordination, and there are inherent differences between the K-pop trainee system and the Western model of artist development, which is often less centralized and more dependent on individual branding. These differences can create challenges in aligning strategies without compromising the unique identities of the artists involved. There were also public perception considerations. Scooter Braun has been a controversial figure in certain segments of the music industry, particularly following disputes involving artist rights and catalog ownership, most notably the highly publicized conflict with Taylor Swift over the ownership of her master recordings. Although this issue was tied to Big Machine Label Group prior to its sale, it still influenced public discourse around Braun's role in the industry. HYBE's decision to partner with him therefore carried reputational implications that extended beyond purely financial calculations. Despite these complexities, the acquisition has shown measurable impact. HYBE America has continued to expand its operations, including the launch of joint ventures such as HYBE-X Geffen Records, announced in 2021, aimed at creating a new global girl group through a training and audition system that blends K-pop methodology with Western market targeting. This project illustrates how the Ithaca acquisition is being used not just to manage existing artists, but to develop new intellectual property that can operate across multiple regions. Additionally, HYBE has leveraged its platform ecosystem, including Weverse, to onboard Western artists, further integrating its global strategy by encouraging cross-platform fan engagement. This creates opportunities for shared audiences, where fans of K-pop acts may be introduced to Western artists within the same digital environment, and vice versa, increasing overall engagement and monetization potential. From an industry perspective, the Ithaca deal signaled a shift in power dynamics. Traditionally, Western companies have acquired or partnered with Asian firms to expand into new markets. But HYBE reversed this pattern by acquiring a US-based company and positioning itself as a global player capable of operating at the highest level of the industry. This move challenged the perception of K-pop companies as regionally confined entities and demonstrated that they could compete directly with major Western conglomerates such as Universal Music Group, Sony Music Entertainment, and Warner Music Group. However, it also intensified competition, as these established players continue to invest heavily in global talent and digital platforms, creating an environment where scale, data, and cross-market synergy are increasingly critical. The long-term success of the Ithaca acquisition will depend on HYBE's ability to maintain artist relationships, generate new revenue streams, and effectively integrate its systems without overextending its resources. Large acquisitions often come with integration risks, including cultural clashes, operational inefficiencies, and the challenge of sustaining growth after the initial expansion phase. Analysts and industry observers continue to monitor whether HYBE can translate its K-pop-driven success model into consistent performance across a more diverse and decentralized global roster. What is clear is that this acquisition was not a cautious step, but a bold leap, one that redefined HYBE's position in the global music industry and set a precedent for how far a company can go in pursuit of market dominance. The real question is whether this aggressive expansion represents a masterstroke of strategic vision or a high-stakes gamble that will only reveal its true outcome over time, because in an industry where trends shift quickly and competition never sleeps, even the biggest moves can carry consequences that take years to fully unfold. Number 4. Multi-label domination, portfolio strategy. HYBE Corporation's transformation into a multi-label structure is one of its most calculated moves to scale influence, while managing creative diversity. Formally structured after its 2021 rebranding, HYBE Labels operates as an umbrella for several semi-independent subsidiaries, including Big Hit Music, Source Music, Pledis Entertainment, Belift Lab, KOZ Entertainment, and later Ador, each with its own management, production teams, and artistic direction. This model is not unique in the global music industry, as conglomerates like Universal Music Group and Sony Music Entertainment have long operated multiple labels. But HYBE's execution reflects a hybrid approach that combines centralized infrastructure with decentralized creative control, allowing it to scale efficiently without forcing a single identity across all artists. Big Hit Music continues to manage BTS and TXT, maintaining the core identity that built the company, while Source Music launched LESS Irafim in 2022, a group that quickly achieved commercial success with strong physical sales and digital chart performance. Pledis Entertainment contributes established acts like 17, whose album sales have consistently ranked among the highest in K-pop, including multi-million selling releases. Belift Lab, a joint venture with CJENM, debuted NHYPEN through the survival show Island, leveraging reality television as a marketing tool to build pre-debut fandoms. KOZ Entertainment, founded by artist-producer Zico, adds a different stylistic dimension focused on hip-hop and self-producing artists, and Ador, led by former SM Entertainment creative director Min Hee-jin, introduced NewJeans in 2022, a group whose minimalist branding and early 2000s inspired sound quickly gained both domestic and international attention, achieving high streaming numbers and brand partnerships within months of debut. This diversified roster reduces HYBE's reliance on any single act, a critical consideration given the earlier revenue concentration around BTS, especially as the group entered a period of reduced group activity due to mandatory military service starting in late 2022. From a marketing standpoint, the multi-label system allows HYBE to target different audience segments simultaneously. Each label can develop its own branding, visual identity, and storytelling approach, which is essential in an industry where audience preferences are highly segmented by age, region, and cultural trends. For example, NewJeans' understated, youth-focused branding contrasts with the more performance-driven and narrative-heavy concepts of NHYPEN, while 17's self-production model emphasizes authenticity and artistic involvement. By maintaining these distinctions, HYBE avoids internal competition that could arise from overlapping concepts, instead creating a portfolio where each act occupies a unique position in the market. At the same time, the company centralizes key operational functions through HYBE Solutions, which includes areas such as marketing, analytics, intellectual property management, merchandise production, and technology development. This centralization allows for economies of scale, reducing costs and increasing efficiency across labels. For instance, data collected through platforms like Weverse can be shared across the organization to inform decisions on tour locations, product design, and content strategy. This creates a feedback loop where insights from one label can benefit others without compromising their creative independence. Financially, this structure contributes to more stable revenue streams. HYBE's earnings reports in 2022 and 2023 showed that while BTS-related income decreased due to reduced group activities, other artists such as 17, TXT, and NewJeans significantly increased their contributions. With 17 becoming one of the top-selling artists globally in terms of physical albums, according to IFPI rankings, this demonstrates that the multi-label strategy is not just theoretical, but actively redistributing revenue sources. However, the model also introduces management complexity. Coordinating multiple labels with different leadership styles, creative visions, and operational needs requires a robust governance system. HYBE addresses this through a structure where each label operates relatively independently, but aligns with overall corporate strategy through shared resources and executive oversight. This balance is delicate. Too much central control could stifle creativity, while too little could lead to inefficiencies or brand dilution. There have also been public discussions and controversies highlighting tensions within this system, particularly regarding creative direction and management decisions at the label level, which underscore the challenges of maintaining cohesion in a rapidly expanding organization. From a competitive perspective, HYBE's multi-label approach positions it closer to global music conglomerates than traditional K-pop agencies, enabling it to operate across multiple genres, markets, and formats simultaneously. This diversification is crucial in an era where music consumption is fragmented across streaming platforms, social media, and live events, and where trends can shift quickly. By spreading its investments across different acts and concepts, HYBE mitigates the risk of any single trend declining in popularity. At the same time, it increases its overall market presence, as multiple artists under its umbrella can chart, tour, and release content concurrently, effectively saturating the market with HYBE-affiliated products. This saturation can be seen as both a strength and a point of criticism. While it maximizes visibility and revenue potential, it also raises concerns about overexpansion and the potential for internal competition if not carefully managed. Another key aspect of this strategy is intellectual property development. Each label contributes to a growing portfolio of music, visual content, and brand assets that can be monetized through various channels, including streaming, licensing, merchandise, and collaborations. HYBE's emphasis on storytelling and universe building, seen in projects like BTS's BU narrative and ENHYPEN's conceptual lore, adds an additional layer of engagement that extends beyond music into webtoons, games, and other media formats, further increasing the value of its IP. This aligns with the company's broader vision of becoming a content platform, rather than just a music producer. Yet the success of this approach depends on maintaining consistent quality and audience interest across multiple projects, which becomes more challenging as the number of active artists and releases grows. In terms of global reach, the multi-label system allows HYBE to localize strategies for different regions while still leveraging its centralized infrastructure. For example, collaborations with US-based partners, Japanese market expansions, and Southeast Asian promotions can be tailored by individual labels while benefiting from shared data and resources. This flexibility is a key advantage in the global music industry, where cultural differences and market dynamics require nuanced approaches. Ultimately, HYBE's multi-label domination strategy reflects a balance between scale and specialization. It enables the company to grow rapidly, diversify its revenue, and maintain creative variety, but it also demands careful coordination and strategic clarity to avoid the pitfalls of overextension. What started as a necessity to reduce dependence on a single group has evolved into a comprehensive system designed to sustain long-term growth. The real test is whether this structure can continue to deliver both commercial success and artistic innovation as the company expands further. Because in a landscape where both audiences and artists value authenticity, managing a vast portfolio without losing individual identity is not just a challenge. It's the line between dominance and dilution, and HYBE is walking it in real time. Number 3. Fandom monetization engine, ARMY model. HYBE Corporation's most powerful and arguably most scrutinized marketing strategy lies in how it systematized fandom into a structured economic engine, a model that became globally visible through BTS and their fanbase known as ARMY, but extends across all HYBE artists today. At its core, this strategy is built on the measurable principle that highly engaged fan communities generate significantly higher lifetime value than passive listeners, a concept supported by broader entertainment industry data, where superfans account for a disproportionate share of revenue through repeat purchases, merchandise, and event participation. HYBE operationalized this by designing a multi-layered engagement system that continuously converts emotional connection into economic activity without relying solely on traditional music sales. One of the earliest indicators of this approach was BTS's consistent release of non-music content, including behind-the-scenes videos, reality-style series like Run BTS, documentaries, and social media updates, all of which maintained constant visibility and interaction, even between album cycles. This aligns with digital marketing principles, emphasizing frequency and consistency of touchpoints to maintain audience attention in an increasingly saturated media environment. The scale of this engagement is quantifiable. BTS has repeatedly ranked among the most engaged artists on platforms like Twitter, where they have generated billions of interactions annually. According to platform release data over multiple years, this level of engagement is not incidental. It is reinforced through structured fan activities such as official fan club memberships, which provide exclusive content, early ticket access, and limited edition merchandise, creating a tiered access system that incentivizes deeper participation. HYBE expanded this model through Weverse, where fan interactions, content consumption, and purchasing behavior are integrated into a single platform, allowing the company to track user behavior and optimize monetization strategies in real time. For example, when an artist releases new content, related merchandise can be immediately promoted within the same ecosystem, reducing friction between interest and purchase. This is a direct application of conversion optimization techniques, commonly used in e-commerce, but adapted to the emotional dynamics of fandom. Physical album sales provide another clear example of this monetization engine. Unlike Western markets where digital streaming dominates, K-pop albums often include collectible elements such as photo cards, posters, and multiple versions. Encouraging fans to purchase more than one copy, BTS's albums have consistently sold millions of units globally, with releases like Map of the Soul, 7 surpassing 4 million copies, according to Gaon chart data. This purchasing behavior is driven not only by music consumption, but by the collectible and participatory aspects embedded in the product design. HYBE has replicated this strategy across its other artists, including 17 and TXT, both of whom have achieved multi-million album sales, demonstrating that the model is scalable beyond a single group. Live events represent another major revenue pillar. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, BTS's Love Yourself, Speak Yourself World Tour in 2019 grossed over 196 million USD, according to Billboard Box Score, making it one of the highest grossing tours of the year. The demand for tickets was fueled by the same engagement mechanisms that drive merchandise sales, with fans competing for limited seats and often traveling internationally to attend concerts. During the pandemic, HYBE adapted this model to digital formats, hosting online concerts that attracted hundreds of thousands of paid viewers, as seen with Bang Bang Con, The Live, which reportedly sold over 750,000 tickets, demonstrating that the monetization engine could function even without physical events. Beyond direct sales, HYBE has leveraged fandom engagement for brand partnerships and endorsements. BTS has collaborated with global brands such as Samsung, McDonald's, and Hyundai, campaigns that often generate measurable spikes in sales and online engagement. For instance, the BTS meal collaboration with McDonald's in 2021 led to increased app downloads and store traffic in multiple markets. According to company statements and media reports, these partnerships are valuable because they tap into an already mobilized fan base, reducing the uncertainty typically associated with marketing campaigns. However, this level of monetization also raises critical questions about sustainability and consumer fatigue. As fans are continuously presented with new product, content, and experiences, there is a risk of oversaturation, where the frequency of releases and promotions could lead to diminishing returns. Industry analysts have noted that maintaining a balance between engagement and over-commercialization is essential to preserving long-term fan loyalty. Another point of discussion is the ethical dimension of fandom monetization. While all entertainment industries rely on consumer spending, the structured and data-driven nature of HYBE's approach has led some observers to question whether it intensifies spending pressure on dedicated fans, particularly younger audiences, who may feel compelled to purchase multiple versions of products or participate in every available event to remain fully engaged within the community. HYBE has addressed some of these concerns by emphasizing the optional nature of purchases and expanding free content offerings, but the underlying economic model remains centered on maximizing engagement-driven revenue. From a strategic perspective, the success of this system lies in its integration. Content, community, and commerce are not separate functions but interconnected components of a single ecosystem. This allows HYBE to maintain continuous interaction with fans, gather actionable data, and rapidly adapt its strategies based on real-time feedback, it also creates high switching costs, as fans invested in the ecosystem are less likely to disengage or move to competing platforms. This level of integration is difficult for competitors to replicate quickly, as it requires not only technological infrastructure, but also a deep understanding of fan behavior and cultural dynamics. Ultimately, HYBE's fandom monetization engine represents a shift from product-based to relationship-based marketing, where the value is not just in the music itself, but in the ongoing connection between artist and audience. This approach has proven highly effective in generating revenue and sustaining global visibility, but it also sets a high bar for maintaining authenticity and trust, because in a system where every interaction can be monetized, the line between engagement and exploitation becomes increasingly thin, and how HYBE navigates that line will determine whether this strategy remains a long-term advantage or becomes a point of resistance from the very fans it depends on most. Number 2, content overload strategy. Always-on exposure. HYBE Corporation's marketing intensity becomes most visible in its always-on content model, a strategy built on the continuous release of material across multiple formats to maintain constant audience attention. Unlike traditional music promotion cycles that revolve around album releases followed by limited promotional periods, HYBE extends visibility far beyond comeback windows by ensuring that its artists remain present in fans' daily digital consumption habits. This includes a steady stream of behind-the-scenes footage, variety-style series, documentaries, social media updates, live streams, short-form clips, and branded collaborations, all distributed across platforms like YouTube, Weverse, TikTok, and previously VLive. The objective is not just visibility, but algorithmic dominance. By consistently feeding content into platform ecosystems, HYBE increases the likelihood that its artists remain prioritized in recommendation systems, which are driven by engagement metrics such as watch time, likes, shares, and comments. This approach aligns with how modern digital platforms operate, where frequent uploads and sustained interaction can significantly amplify reach without relying solely on paid promotion. BTS exemplified this model early on with content series like Run BTS and regular video logs, which kept fans engaged between major releases, but HYBE expanded and systematized this approach across its entire artist roster. TXT, ENHYPEN, 17, and NewJeans all maintain active content pipelines tailored to their respective brand identities. For example, ENHYPEN's content often ties into narrative-driven concepts that extend their musical themes, while 17's long-running variety content emphasizes group dynamics and humor, reinforcing their self-produced image. This diversification ensures that content remains fresh while still adhering to each group's core identity. The scale of production is significant. HYBE invests heavily in in-house content teams, studio infrastructure, and post-production capabilities, allowing it to produce high-quality material at a pace that would be difficult for smaller agencies to match. This internalization of content production reduces dependency on external broadcasters and gives HYBE full control over scheduling, distribution, and creative direction. From a marketing standpoint, the benefits are clear. Constant exposure strengthens parasocial relationships, where fans feel a sense of familiarity and emotional connection with artists. A phenomenon widely studied in media psychology, these relationships increase engagement, loyalty, and willingness to support artists, which in turn feeds into other revenue streams such as merchandise, concerts, and brand partnerships. However, the always-on model also raises important operational and ethical considerations. Producing continuous content requires sustained effort from both artists and production teams, which can contribute to workload pressures. Although HYBE has publicly stated that it prioritizes artist well-being and schedules content strategically, the sheer volume of output has led to ongoing discussions among industry observers about the long-term sustainability of such a pace, especially in an industry already known for demanding schedules. Another critical aspect is audience saturation. While frequent content can maintain engagement, there is a threshold beyond which additional material yields diminishing returns. Digital analytics can track engagement rates, but predicting audience fatigue is more complex, as it depends on content, quality, variety, and timing. HYBE mitigates this risk by diversifying formats and staggering releases across different artists, ensuring that no single act dominates the content pipeline at all times. This creates a rotating visibility model where multiple groups share the spotlight, maintaining overall brand presence without overexposing any single entity. The strategy also leverages short-form content trends, particularly on platforms like TikTok and Instagram Reels, where brief, highly shareable clips can reach audiences beyond existing fan bases. Challenges, dance trends, and viral moments become part of the promotional ecosystem, often driven by fan participation, which further amplifies reach without direct advertising costs. This user-generated amplification is a key component of HYBE's marketing efficiency, as it turns fans into active promoters. Extending the lifecycle of each piece of content, data plays a central role in optimizing this system. HYBE analyzes engagement metrics to determine what types of content perform best, at what times, and in which regions. Allowing for precise adjustments in strategy, this data-driven approach is similar to practices used by major tech companies and streaming platforms, where content decisions are increasingly informed by user behavior analytics rather than intuition alone. However, reliance on data also introduces the risk of homogenization, where content is optimized for performance metrics at the expense of creative experimentation. Maintaining a balance between data-driven efficiency and artistic innovation is a challenge that HYBE must continuously navigate. Financially, the always-on strategy supports multiple revenue streams. Indirectly, while most content is free to access, it drives traffic to monetized channels such as Weverse Shop, paid memberships, and ticketed events. Effectively functioning as a marketing engine that sustains consumer interest and spending over time, it also increases the value of brand partnerships, as companies are more likely to collaborate with artists who maintain high visibility and engagement levels across platforms. Yet the aggressive nature of this approach has led to critiques that it prioritizes quantity alongside quality. Although HYBE's production standards remain high, the expectation of constant output can create pressure to maintain momentum, regardless of external factors. From an industry perspective, this strategy has influenced competitors. Many K-pop agencies and even Western artists have increased their content output in response to changing audience expectations. Shaped in part by HYBE's model, this creates a feedback loop where the baseline for visibility continues to rise, making it increasingly difficult for artists to compete without adopting similar practices. Ultimately, HYBE's content overload strategy reflects a fundamental shift in how entertainment is marketed in the digital age, where attention is fragmented and competition is constant. Being present is no longer enough. Dominance requires persistence, adaptability, and an understanding of platform dynamics at a granular level. HYBE has demonstrated that controlling the rhythm of content can translate into controlling the rhythm of audience attention, but it also raises the question of how much is too much. Because in a landscape where visibility is everything, the risk is not just being unseen, but being everywhere to the point where the impact of each appearance begins to fade, and managing that balance may be one of the most critical challenges for HYBE as it continues to scale its global influence. Number 1. IP expansion machine, beyond music. HYBE Corporation's most far-reaching and structurally ambitious strategy is its transformation from a music company into an intellectual property powerhouse. A shift that reframes artists not just as performers, but as multi-dimensional IP assets capable of generating value across industries. This approach is rooted in a broader trend within global entertainment, where companies seek to extend successful properties into multiple formats, increasing both revenue streams and audience touchpoints. But HYBE's execution is distinct in how tightly it integrates storytelling, technology, and commerce into a single system. One of the earliest and most visible examples of this strategy is the expansion of BTS-related intellectual property into webtoons, web novels, games, and educational content. In January 2022, HYBE launched original story-based webtoons and web novels such as Seven Fates, Chaco featuring BTS, and Dark Moon the Blood Altar, associated with NHYPEN, in partnership with Naver Webtoon. These projects were not simple adaptations, but original narratives that incorporated the identities and themes associated with the artists, designed to attract both existing fans and new audiences within the rapidly growing global webtoon market. According to Naver, these titles achieved millions of views shortly after release, demonstrating immediate traction. This expansion into serialized storytelling aligns with consumption trends where audiences engage with characters and universes across multiple media formats, increasing both engagement time and monetization opportunities. HYBE has also invested in gaming as part of its IP strategy, developing mobile games such as BTS World, released in 2019, and In the CM, launched in 2022, both of which incorporate artist likenesses, narratives, and interactive elements. These games generate revenue through in-app purchases and extend fan interaction beyond passive consumption into participatory experiences. The gaming market itself is one of the largest segments in global entertainment, with revenues surpassing both film and music industries, making it a logical extension for IP-driven companies. Education represents another dimension of HYBE's expansion, Through initiatives like HYBE EDU, the company has developed Korean language learning content using BTS-related material, including the Learn Korean with BTS series, which combines entertainment with structured curriculum. This not only monetizes educational content, but also reinforces cultural influence, contributing to the global spread of the Korean language and culture, often referred to as part of the Korean wave. Merchandise and licensing further illustrate the depth of HYBE's IP strategy. Beyond standard concert goods, the company produces a wide range of products, including character-based merchandise, fashion collaborations, and lifestyle items. BT21, a character brand created in collaboration with Line Friends, is one of the most successful examples, generating significant retail presence across Asia and beyond. These characters are not direct representations of BTS members, but are inspired by them, allowing the IP to exist independently and extend its lifespan beyond the group's active years. This separation between artist and derivative IP is a critical component of long-term value creation. It ensures that the brand can continue to generate revenue even as the original artist's activities evolve or decline. HYBE's approach to IP also includes narrative universes, where music, videos, lyrics, and supplementary content are interconnected through overarching storylines. BTS's Bangtan universe and ENHYPEN's conceptual lore are examples of this. These narratives encourage deeper fan engagement as audiences analyze connections and anticipate future developments, effectively turning content consumption into an ongoing interactive experience. This level of engagement increases retention and repeat interaction, key metrics in any digital business model. Technology integration plays a central role in enabling this IP expansion. HYBE has invested in areas such as virtual content, augmented reality, and blockchain-related initiatives, including NFTs. Although the latter has faced mixed reception due to environmental and ethical concerns associated with blockchain technology, the company has stated its intention to explore digital ownership and new forms of fan interaction, reflecting a willingness to experiment with emerging technologies even amid controversy. Financially, the IP expansion strategy diversifies revenue beyond traditional music, sales, and concerts. HYBE's financial reports categorize income streams into segments such as albums, concerts, advertisements, and content and platform. With the latter, including IP-based products and services, this diversification is crucial for long-term stability as it reduces dependence on any single revenue source and allows the company to capitalize on multiple markets simultaneously. For example, while concert revenue declined sharply during the COVID-19 pandemic, digital content and IP-related products helped offset losses, demonstrating the resilience of a diversified model. However, this aggressive expansion also raises important questions about brand dilution and strategic focus. As HYBE extends its IP into more areas, maintaining coherence and quality across all products becomes increasingly challenging. There is a risk that overextension could weaken the core identity of the artists if not carefully managed. Additionally, the commercialization of IP at this scale can lead to perceptions of overexploitation, particularly if fans feel that new products or content are driven more by revenue goals than creative intent. Balancing commercial objectives with artistic authenticity is therefore a critical aspect of sustaining long-term success. From an industry perspective, HYBE's IP expansion reflects a convergence of entertainment sectors, where the boundaries between music, gaming, publishing, and technology are becoming increasingly blurred. This convergence creates new opportunities, but also intensifies competition. As companies from different industries compete for the same consumer attention and spending, HYBE's ability to operate across these domains positions it as more than just a music label. It becomes a hybrid entertainment tech company with capabilities that extend into multiple high-growth sectors. Yet this positioning also requires continuous innovation and adaptation. As technological trends and consumer preferences evolve rapidly, ultimately, HYBE's IP expansion machine represents the culmination of its broader strategy, integrating content, platform, fandom, and technology into a unified system designed to maximize value at every stage of the consumer journey. It is a model that has delivered significant growth and global influence in a relatively short period, but it also pushes the boundaries of how far a company can extend its reach without encountering resistance. Because when every song, story, and symbol becomes part of a larger commercial ecosystem, the challenge is no longer just creating value, it is preserving meaning. And that may be the most difficult balance of all.